Hello and welcome back to the beginner mini album tutorial using the Stamperia Cosmos papers. So we've got our album constructed now. We've got our pages together. So now we are just going to start adding our pattern paper and decorating our pages. So my first step is always to figure out what I want to use as the cover, especially since we only have 10 sheets in one of these 8x8 pads. So I've got this page that I'm going to have as the cover, so I'm going to take that and set it aside. And then two of the sheets are cut aparts. So I've cut those all apart and we're going to use those as kind of decoration and embellishments, which leaves us 7 sheets of paper. Plus the cover of the album, which luckily has a pattern on it. So basically 8 sheets of paper. So I'm kind of using 1 sheet of the Cosmos paper per page in essence. And I've also got the Cosmos die cuts, so I'm going to be using some of those as embellishments as well. And then we've got our if you followed me from my last video, we've also made some really cool backgrounds that kind of blend with the Cosmos papers. If you have not seen this Distress Oxide background video, I will link it up above somewhere here. And alright, let us start matting all of our pieces. So I'm leaving the covers for now because I haven't decided what kind of closure I want to use or if I want to use a closure at all. So I'm going to leave the covers for now and just start right into page 1. Alright, so right away we have a decision. We want to use something to close. This piece is essentially closing the pocket. Okay, kind of locking all of those whatever we put in the pocket, it's going to stay put because this is going to close down over it. So we could just use a magnet, we could use a swing tab, there's a lot of different things that we could do. The papers that I have chosen for this part, I'm going to have this over here, and then I'm going to use some coordinating browns and blues. So I've got the brown that I'm going to put there, the blue here, this brown is going to go on the pocket. So I've got a few sheets of coordinating cardstock, just random pieces from my stash, and then this is going to go here. Okay, so that is my plan for this page. So what I think I'm going to do is use one of the cut aparts, and I'm going to mat it and use it as a kind of flip up. So I think we're going to go with the moon. And now please know that you do not have to do things exactly how I do them at all. This is completely your album, your choice. You do what you want to do. I'm just kind of showing you what I'm doing. Do I like this or that? I think I'm going to stick with the moon. Okay. So, I've inked most of my papers already, but I'll just show you with this one what I mean by inking the edges. So I'm just taking some vintage photo distress inks. This is a really old one. I've used a re-inker on it many times, and I'm just taking a sponge dauber and just going around the edges like this just to give it a little bit of a vintage look. I just don't like the look of the white edges. If that's your thing, then you don't have to do this at all. I just prefer to have it looking a little bit more vintagey. So I'm going to take this and mat it on a scrap piece of black cardstock. This should be big enough, yes. And then we'll start putting our pieces on. Okay, so now what I want is I'm gonna adhere this half onto the page, but then I want a magnet to be on the other half. So before I even put this onto the black cardstock, I'm gonna put a magnet, just one single thin, super thin disc magnet. They're like hard to even show up. 1 millimeter by 10 millimeter disc magnets. I do sell them in my Etsy shop, just so you know. I'm going to put just one on the bottom there, and then I'm going to mat this piece. So the magnet's right here. Okay, and now I'm going to let another magnet just buddy up and adhere to its friend on the back side, and put a tiny bit of score tape. You could use wet adhesive if you prefer, but I find it takes too long to dry and the magnet has a chance to move, and I don't like that. And then I'm going to remove the backing. Okay, and then get this out of the way, and I'm just going to kind of place this where I think I'm going to want it. So try and center it. Looks about center. And then I'm just going to push down to adhere that magnet in place. Okay, and that's all there is to adding a magnet there. And now we can start putting on our pieces of paper. So I'm just using my ATG gun to adhere it. The matting size for this particular piece is this piece is 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches. Okay, so we're going to need a few of those because we've got 3 pieces that are this exact side, and we're going to do the back and front. So you'll need to do 6 pieces of this size. But if you don't know which papers you're using yet, then you might want to wait. Try and do this as straight as possible. Okay, so there's one. And on the back side, I've got the darker blue. Okay, so I'm going to put that on now as well. Okay, so that's that. The pocket piece, the mat for the pocket is again 8 inches by 3.5. So that's going to go right down there. And then the piece that goes inside the pocket is again 8 inches by 5 inches. Because you want it to be in the pocket at least a 1/2 inch, so that it's, it's helping to keep this pocket down because it's going to go over top of the 2 side 1/2 inch sections. And that way the tags also won't get caught on anything, because this is all the way in there, so the tags don't have anything to get caught on. If you only cut it to here, there's a chance that the paper could start to come up a little bit with the wear and tear of things coming in and out of the pocket. Okay, so kind of stick it in a little bit, make sure that it doesn't adhere until you have it in place. There we go. And I will be adding all of my tags later on. So your choice whether you want to do it now or later. All right, now find your magnet here. So it's going to figure out where it's supposed to sit, and then I'm just going to add some adhesive just to the top part here. And now we might want to add a little bit of a scrap piece of paper because when we lift this up, you are going to see this black part. So I might find a scrap piece of paper, maybe some of this. Okay, so here's a little scrap piece of that. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more off. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on the back side. I'm just going to add one more little strip of score tape here. Oh, work with me, score tape. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, make sure there's no adhesive overhanging anything, and then the magnets will find each other. There they are. Just make sure it's straight, and then adhere it down. Okay, so there we go. That's our first little bit, and we'll put a tag in afterwards if you'd like to further decorate things. Oh, I just realized it is a little bit, when I'm looking into the camera I can tell it's not completely centered. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to be okay with it. I'm just going to deal with it. Okay, so for the next one, I've got one of the background papers that we made. And then on the front, I'm going to go with this blue, like that. And I think I'm going to use, might use one of these or a metal embellishment. I'm going to do something as a swing tab. So I'm just trying to decide what I want to use. On the opposite side from this page, I'm just going to have one of the sheets of the 12 by 12 that I just couldn't bear to cut into. I just loved it so much that I did not want to cut into it. So I think I want to use something that is wolf inspired. So I'm either going to use one of these round ones, and then I think I'm going to put the little chipboard of the wolf somewhere on the inside. Yes. Okay, so either that or that. I'm thinking this I like better. In this case, we are going to put the right one on first, or the left one on first. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so left one on, and then we need a crocodile or some kind of hole punch. I'm going to punch a hole in first in my chipboard piece. Okay, and then I'm going to place it onto my piece where I want it to go, and then mark with a marker, mark a little hole, or with a pen or something. Okay, this time I'm going to make sure that it's in the center. That looks good right about there. So I'm going to make a little mark with a hole, or go in the hole and make a mark, is what I'm trying to say. So there's a tiny little mark there that I made with my pen, and now I'm going to go in with my crocodile and make a hole in that. Okay, so just bring this up so you can see that there's a hole there now, and you can either just attach it with a brad as is, but I would like to also have a magnet on this as well. So I want it to be a magnetized swing tab. So we're basically going to do pretty much the same thing that we did for the first page. So I'm just going to put a little bit of score tape. You don't have to have it magnetized. I just prefer them to be. It's a personal preference, really. So one magnet. And now I'm going to cover this with Tyvek. I'm only covering it with Tyvek because I want the magnet to be covered so it doesn't catch on anything, but I don't want to cover it with pattern paper because it might just be a little bit too thick. Well, you just want something really thin. Now, you know what, I'm going to use Tyvek just because I have it already here and handy, and it already has adhesive on it. You can use just a paper backing. Okay, so I'm going to adhere it, and then I'm going to trim around it. Okay, and now I'm going to ink the edge of this chipboard piece, A for the color, and B just to make sure that there is no sticky edge from the tape that was on the Tyvek. Now I'm just going to quickly repunch that hole. Okay, and then let a magnet buddy up to its friend here. Put some score tape on that. Now we need a brad. Okay, so I'm going to put a brad through the hole there, and then through the hole in this piece, and open the tines on the back. Okay, and then I'm going to remove this little bit of score tape backing here, and then close this so that the magnet adheres in the proper place, and then swing that out of the way. Okay, and now we can put the other piece of paper on this one, and I can't remember if I gave you the measurement for this one. These pieces here, the 8 of them, the matting is 3 7/8 by 6 1/4. Okay, so there's that. And then on the inside, you want to make sure that you cover these tines with something. So I'm just going to get some, first I'm going to put some score tape over top of them, and then I'm just going to cut some plain cardstock. No, want some kind of blue. Okay, I really like this to go with the, I think that works well with the wolf. So this is going to go on the insides here. So it's already the perfect height. So I just need to cut it in half basically. So 3 7/8. And I keep all of my scraps in case I need some strips for anything later. Okay, so I'm going to stick those on. And because they don't have a white core, I don't feel like I need to ink the edges. I mean, I could. No. I'm usually inking the edges because I don't like the white core of the paper. It kind of shows through. Okay, just going to remove the tape backing off this little piece. Right there. And then we'll put this one down. Okay, and then I think I want a little wolfie somewhere in here. Yeah, I think I'm going to put him right there. So I'm just going to ink him a little bit. And I'm going to use glue to adhere him down. Okay, I feel like there maybe should be a moon somewhere that he's howling at. Okay, well I might add that in later. Okay, so that is that, and now we can put this piece on over here. And I made the pages the size that I did so that, because I didn't want to cut into some of these because some of them are so beautiful. So this is perfect for just an 8 by 8 piece with a little border around the edge, which is why I made them that size. Okay, so now we are going to do the same process again. Okay, so I've got all my pieces organized. So here's what I'm gonna do. I've got this pattern paper for the front. I've matted another one of the cut aparts and added a couple of the chipboard elements on top of it. So I'm gonna glue it down, but instead of having the magnet on here, on the tag itself, I wanted to make sure that you knew, just in case you didn't have the chipboard pieces or didn't want to use them, I wanted to show you how to put magnets going directly from the back of the piece to the next piece. So yeah, let's do it this way instead because I just want you to have options. So we are going to take, I'm going to put 2 magnets. You probably don't need to, but I just like the symmetry of it. So we're going to put 2 pieces of score tape kind of in the corners of the flat piece on the back side. Make sure they have minimum of 1/2 inch all the way around. And we're going to remove the backing. Okay, and then we are going to take 2 magnets that are already just magnetized together, and put both magnets on the pieces of score tape. So we've got 2 magnets on each of the pieces of score tape. And then we are going to add another piece of score tape on top of those magnets, making a little magnet sandwich. And then we are going to close this piece. So close the piece over top of the pocket to adhere those 2 magnets in place. There we go. Alright, so now we can start adding our pattern paper. So we are going to put this piece on the pocket. And I just wanted to show you, this piece is, it was slightly smaller than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to use this color, so I went with it and just have a slightly bigger border around than on the other pockets. So just so you know that it's not set in stone how big the matting pieces have to be. Okay, so the pocket, again, just in case you wanted the measurements one more time, the pocket piece is normally 3.5 by 8, and this one is 3.25. So it still works even if it's only 3.25. And then the piece that goes inside the pocket is normally 5 by 8, and this one is 4.5. This one's a little bit shorter than I would like it to be. It's just making it inside the pocket, but I wanted to use this piece on this side as well. So you work with what you have, basically. That goes like that. I'm going to put a little cute little chipboard piece on the pocket as well. Just for decoration because I love it. Okay, and then these pieces are over here. And this one wasn't quite wide enough, as you can see, so I'm using it, and then I just cut a strip of the coordinating colored cardstock to go over here, just so it all works together. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, so close. That could have been disastrous. When paper crafting goes horribly wrong. So you want to make sure that your paper completely covers the magnets all the way around. Alright, and now we can put our piece on the front. I really hope at some point that Stamperia starts putting 2 pieces of each pattern in their paper packs, because sometimes it's so hard to decide which side of the paper to use because I love both sides. So if you're listening, Stamperia people, can you start doing 2 pieces of each pattern, please? Alright, so I'm just going to adhere this to the front piece as a like a lifter. Alright, so I'm just going to try and get it even. That looks good. And again, there is that little bit that's showing on the back side, so you might want to put a little strip of something to coordinate. I'm just going to cut a... That's why you keep all your scraps. It's amazing what you can do with little scraps of paper. Alright, just going to quickly ink that. Fantastic, and now on to page 4. So this is the one where I had these pieces and then these little bits here. I did a lot of paper piecing on this one. And I would like to do a swing tab here, but you don't, I wanted to show you that you don't necessarily have to do the swing tabs to be magnetized. They don't have to be magnetized. It's completely an option. So I'm going to put the papers on this top one, and then we can put the swing tab on, but this time I'm not going to magnetize it, just to show you that they still work fine if you don't magnetize them. It does keep it closed a little more securely if it is magnetized, but it doesn't always have to be done. Okay, so so feel free to experiment with papers. I mean, you can do an entire page filled with just like strips of cut off scraps. Even that looks really, really cool. There's so many things that you can do. Don't limit yourself to making sure that it's only one strip of paper per piece. It completely doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be one solid piece. You can mix it up and do all kinds of crazy things. Okay, so that is that. Oh, I got a little bit of extra adhesive trying to get crazy there. Okay, there we go. And now, so this piece already has a hole punched in it right there, so I'm just going to use the existing hole and going to make a mark in the paper. And now a good idea, you want to make sure that as you swing this around that it has room to completely swing out of the way to enable the other piece to lift up. I mean, right now we're completely fine, but sometimes you're forced to put a piece like closer to the edge or something, so you want to make sure that you have lots of room to swing it out of the way. Okay, now it's hard to see. Oh, it's really hard to see. I'm going to try that again, actually. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to punch a hole in this paper here, and then get our brad. Okay, and now we'll put that through the hole, and then open the tines on the other side. And make sure we cover those tines with some score tape. Okay, so I was saying that not every swing tab needs to be magnetized. However, in this case, can you see how it's kind of just flopping up, right? So we do want a magnet in this case. If, for instance, we were putting swing tabs over here, we probably wouldn't need a magnet because it's going from one level and it's covering over another level. So there's a bit of the swing tab has something to push on, like it's got a resistance as it's going over something that's higher, a higher level, whereas this doesn't have that. So I just wanted to show you how you can still put a magnet on even after you've already put your patterned paper on. So we're going to put a magnet on this piece here, and then we're going to put it through the, we're going to let it adhere through the paper. The magnets are really strong and they can go through quite a few pieces of paper. It's quite amazing, actually. So we're going to start by kind of putting our finger around where we know we want the magnet, and then open this up. So keeping your finger kind of where we want it, we're going to put a piece of score tape. So kind of just eyeball that. Make sure that that's right. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we've got a piece of score tape here. We're going to put one magnet. Okay, close that up, and then let another magnet adhere to it. Put some score tape on that. So we're basically doing the same thing that we did earlier, but kind of in the reverse order. So I just wanted you to know that there's always a way to fix something if you think you've done it wrong, or if you've missed something. Okay, so there we go. Now we just have to cover up the magnet on here. So I'm just going to put a little piece of, let's go with, we've got a spare piece of this color, so we're just going to kind of, no, that might interfere. We want something that's going to go quite far down because we don't want it to get caught on anything. So I'm going to find a bigger scrap. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of slide that down as far as it'll go. Oh, we're not quite straight. Oh, it's down there now. It's not wanting to move. Okay, good enough. Okay, and now we can put the rest of our pieces on. So I've got this brown with these two side pieces. So I'm going to put the sides on first and then the brown piece. Okay, and then see how the brown fits in there. So I'm going to trim the brown one down just a little bit because I want there to be a little bit of black in between. Okay, so just getting the pieces on here. I've got some darker teal and then 2 kind of journaling cards from the collection. Okay, so just make sure whatever you put up here, it is going to cover the tines from the swing tab that we put on the other side, if you used a swing tab. Okay, so that is, what are we at, page 5? Yeah, 5 I think. Alright, and if you don't want to do a swing tab, I mean, you can do a like a ribbon tie closure. Just put a little bit of ribbon underneath the pieces of pattern paper, or you could punch holes and use a little rivet to put some ribbon through, or you can do a little lock mechanism. Like there's so many things that can be done to close pieces, so use your imagination. All right, next. All right, so the next pieces I have are that on the front, that goes in the pocket, that goes up there. All right. All right, so my brain's turning, I'm indecisive here. So I'm trying to decide whether to use this side of the paper or this side. I think I like this side. Oh man, gosh, I love them both so much. I'm gonna use this side. I hope I'm making the right decision because I love both so much. Sorry, that was that was uncalled for. No one wants to hear that. Super out of tune little ditty. I actually love to sing. If I really do try, I have an alright voice if I actually am putting an effort in. That was not an effort, just so you know. Alright, what are we gonna do down here? I feel like since I was just talking about other closures that we should have a different kind of closure. Maybe let's do a little metal closure. I might do a metal closure on this. Be careful because some of them can be a little bit bulky and they can kind of destroy the page adjacent to it. Might be able to get away with this one. I'm gonna give it a go. So I do have a ½ inch in between the pages and this one's flat, so it might be alright. Okay, so I'm gonna try using this one. I just want to show you, see how it has some dimension there. So, I mean, the flatter they are, the better. But we're gonna go with it and see what happens. So I'm gonna put this piece on first. And then I'm going to mark where I want my holes to go on this piece. Is that centered? I'm going to get these out of the way because they're distracting me. Okay, now you don't want them too close to the edge, so try best you can to have a clasp that lets you put your holes a little bit further from the edge. If, like in this case, they are quite close to the edge. I recommend putting a little tiny piece of Tyvek on the other side just so those holes don't rip any more than you want them to. That will definitely help. So I always keep scrap pieces of Tyvek on hand for situations like this, so that will just keep the holes from ripping any further and having your clasp come off your page completely. So I'm just going to cover those holes, and then I'm just going to repoke them. Okay, and then I'm going to get a couple of brads. Another thing that I tend to do is I tend to use a little bit of glue as well on the back of my clasps, just to make sure that they stay in place and it's not just the two little brads that are holding it there. Extra security. Okay, so once you've got your brads in, open the tines on the other side. Okay, and then we will mark where we want, put the other bottom piece on, and then mark where we want our other part of the clasp to go. So I'm going to mark the holes. Okay, so the tines of this are going to go into the pocket, right? So the only thing about this is that tags might get caught now in this pocket. So I'm also going to put some Tyvek on the inside of this part to cover over those tines. Okay, so I'm going to put another little piece of Tyvek to cover the tines on the inside there. You'll have to do this by feel, because you won't really be able to see in there. And this way nothing will get caught on those tines. Okay, and now we can put this piece down. Amazing. And then I'm going to make sure that this has to cover the tines, so make sure that it covers the tines there. I'm going to put some score tape on them as well. All right, let's put this one down. Okay, fabulous. And there we go. Yeah, there's enough room. There's enough room. Perfect. All right, and then on to the last page. Okay, so I think I'm going to do the owl here. I'll put that on. Oh, see, I really love this page as well. So hard. I guess you need to buy 2 packs of everything in order to have one of each side. Okay. So I decided that we should just do a ribbon closure because it's really simple, and this is supposed to be a beginner album, so I wanted to keep things really simple. So all you need to do for a ribbon closure is grab a length of ribbon. I mean, 18 inches or so. You might not even need that much, but it's always better to have too much than too little. And I'm just using a 1/2 inch, is it 5? No, 5/8 of an inch sheer craft ribbon. It's just from the dollar store. It's nothing too crazy. All right, and I'm just going to put a piece of score tape along the end of the ribbon. Okay, on both of them. Alright, and then you just peel off the backing and then just stick it onto your cover. You want to make sure that the adhesive doesn't go all the way to the very, very edge, and try to get it in center, and then kind of flip it over and do the same for the other part of your ribbon. You can do this on the inside of the covers if you prefer. It doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot which way you go. Go on the inside or the outside. And now line these up so you know that they are going to be even with each other. And that's all there is to it. And now we can do our cover. So I'm going to put this piece here, just a simple cardstock, and then have one of the 8x8 pattern pieces over top of it, because the cover, you want your cover matting to be, what did I just do, 8 5/8 by 8 3/8. Yeah, 8 5/8 wide, 8 3/8 tall, and then your pattern paper is 8x8, so that will give it a little bit of a matting. If you're ever stuck on how big a mat should be, just measure the space that you want to put a piece of pattern paper, and then just take off an 1/8 of an inch off each side. So whatever, say you're trying to mat something that is 5x4, then you would cut your matting piece down to 4 3/4 by 3 3/4, so like a 1/4 inch less than the size that you're trying to mat. Okay, and that's going to go on there. Okay, I'm going to finish up the last page here quickly, and then we will finish our covers, because I just realized we haven't actually completed this yet. Alright, so which piece was I going to put down here? I believe it was this one. Okay, so I'm going to put this piece down, and then we're going to do our waterfall. So the inside covers are the same as the outside covers, right? 8 3/8 by 8 5/8. And now we've got these 4 pieces left over from our initial cuttings. So we are just going to adhere them down. You can kind of have this going horizontal or vertical. It's completely up to you. I just want to see how much space, how high I should start it. Okay, so I'm going to start it somewhere around here, about an inch down from the top. So I'm going to remove the tape backing and center it left to right, put it up about an inch or so down from the top and adhere that down. And then open it up, and the next one I'm going to leave just a little bit of a gap. So this is completely up to you. You can butt this one right up against the half-inch section of the first one and have cut a couple more pieces like this and have a bigger waterfall if you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch space between the edge of the 1/2 inch section here and my next piece. Okay, so when they fold they look like that, so I'm going to leave that much space in between, and then I'm going to put a strip of paper covering in between that. I'm going to do the same for the next one. Make sure that they are straight. Okay, so there is my waterfall. Alright, now you can, I often put a 5th one going up to kind of cover over all of these and keep them closed. You definitely don't have to do that, but I am going to go over them with my bone folder. If I can find my bone folder. Just so they lay a little bit flatter. Okay, so now I'm going to put this piece just on the front. I'm not going to put any pattern paper on these ones, but I might just put maybe a strip of paper just to decorate it, but I haven't decided that yet. Let's see how much of this paper I have. Okay, so these 3 strips are going to go here. Okay, so that's that part done, and then this is just going to be free open for pictures. So I also want strips to go in between these to cover up those 1/2 inch sections. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So they need to be the same length. So 6 3/8 by Again, 5/8. Okay, so in between these, I'm going to put these strips. I'm going to ink them up real quick. Okay, so now you got the strips in between there. Now we can put our back cover on. Actually, first, just in the center here, this is an extra step. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's something that I'm wanting to do. So I like to put strips of paper in between my pages, just to kind of finish them off. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do that, and then I'm going to put a couple of brads in the center just to give some extra security. Alright, so once you've got pattern paper in the centers of all of those, open your album just to the very middle, and I am going to punch a hole in the top and a hole in the bottom, and just add a brad there, just to make sure that our binding system stays attached to our album. This is completely optional. I just like to have the extra security. It's not absolutely necessary. I also just like the look of it. So just an extra step if you like. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a couple brads through those holes and open them on the back. Okay, and now we can add pattern paper to our spine piece and to our back of the album. So this is going to go on the back, on the spine, I should say. Just going to remove the score tape backing from these two pieces. And I'm probably going to put some other decorative element on the spine as well. I just haven't figured out exactly what that is as of yet. Oh, it's not exactly straight. Let's try that again. That's better. Okay, and then on the back of the album, I'm going to maybe use another piece of this. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm just going to quickly ink this piece up and put that on our back. Okay, make sure I've got it the right way up. Oh, guess we're doing it this way. perfect. Now what do we have left to do? We've got our inside cover, so I'm going to use this plain craft cardstock. And then this piece. So of course my camera stopped filming 5 minutes to go till the end of the tutorial. So it is the next day, and pretty much just coming to say goodbye because we are done the album. So we just finished putting this last piece on the cover, so now all it is left to do is to add your tags into your pocket. So the tags, you can just choose whatever size of cardstock you want to put in there, as long as it's, you know, smaller than 8 by 8 and can fit in the pocket, and just mat it. You can do some that are like a card or a booklet, and that is all that's left to do. I might do a little bit further embellishing, add some more chipboard pieces, etc., just to jazz it up a little bit more. But that is your album. So super quick mini album that you can make in an afternoon. A great idea for a gift for someone. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Ooh, that was a squeaky, yeah. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and come back for more. I'm gonna have a bunch of beginner, like more simplistic kind of albums coming up in the future, just some like really easy peasy ones, but I'll still be doing my really interactive albums that I have in my Etsy shop as well. And the next projects coming up are some alcohol ink projects, so stay tuned for those. Please hit that bell icon to be notified of any videos coming up whenever I put a new video out. Please subscribe for more, and like and share this tutorial because that really helps me out. You guys are amazing, and I love y'all. Alright, have an incredible day. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye!